Okay, so I had a question from several students on if we could go over the lesson 2 homework, if they could show a video of how to do it in gurufocus and also how to do it if you don't have gurufocus. So let's go ahead and first of all let's do it in gurufocus. So we're going to start with let's do Johnson & Johnson. Which is a symbol JNJ. Okay, so first of all I'm going to go to gurufocus. Okay, I'm going to put in my symbol JNJ. Okay, so I get the price of $92.67, so I'll just put that in here, 92.67, and today is October 1st. Okay, so let's look at the last 3 years' earnings. So in gurufocus, I'm going to go to 15-year financials and go down here to earnings per share diluted and go last 3 years, which is right here, 570, 481, and 386. 570, 481, and 386. Okay, and then I'm going to go 10 years earlier. 570. I'm going to go, so I did 12, 13, and 14, so I'm going to do 2, 3, and 4. December 2, 3, and 4 is going to be 216, 240, and 284. So I got 216, 240, and 284. And this is 2004, 2003, and 2002. Okay, so I got 3-year averages 10 years ago, the most recent 3-year average, and then let's look at the trailing 12 months. Okay, so let's go back to gurufocus. TTM is trailing 12 months is 569 under earnings per share diluted, 569. I'm going to plug that in here, 569. And then my earnings estimate is what I'm going to get. I think we get that off of Yahoo. So we go to Yahoo. We're in Yahoo Finance. We put in our quote, JNJ. And I can go to analyst estimates. And we have the average estimate is 617. So let's plug that in here. 617. By the way, you could also get that on gurufocus if you go to the summary page. And then you scroll down here. Analyst estimate. Oops, passed it. Computer's a little slow here. Analyst estimate, earnings per share, 606. I think this is just one analyst estimate, whereas on Yahoo, it's the average estimate for these 18 analysts. So I kind of like this number a little better. Anyways, going back to our spreadsheet. Okay, so now we're going to come up with our own estimate. And normally we would just take Graham's 3-year average, but what we see here is really strong growth in earnings from 386 to, I mean, it's really jumping. So maybe I'm going to be a little bit more generous with that. Maybe I'll go with, say, maybe a 550 or so. Okay, the last thing we need is the dividend yield. And so we're trying to stick with gurufocus. Dividend yield I'm going to click on here where it says dividend. Dividend yield is 3.16. That's a pretty good yield. 3.16. Okay, so I'm going to use, so we have earnings growth of about 7%, which is okay. So I'm not going to go crazy on this Johnson & Johnson, maybe like 17 or 18. And that gives us a value of 99. It's currently traded at 92.67. That's not too bad. So we're looking at, even if we went to say maybe 17, that's still pretty good. It's not crazy overvalued. Okay, because interest rates are low, I'm willing to pop that up a little bit. And so we're looking at a total return of probably around 11%, 3% from dividends, and about 7% from earnings growth. So if we want to, I guess the one thing we could check on gurufocus is if Johnson & Johnson tends to trade very low. So if we look at this, two ways we could do that. One way we could do is on this interactive chart. If we click on this price at median PE, say over the last 5 years, median PE has been 18, so I think we're pretty good using a 17 or 18. I think we're pretty good there. Okay, so we did Johnson & Johnson, which I'd say would be a pretty good buy. Estimated return 1092. Let's do the same thing, but now let's do it just using Yahoo and Google. Okay, JNJ. So the price is the same as of October 1st. And so let's see where we can get these earnings numbers. So if we go to, we can't use gurufocus, we said. So just using Yahoo and Google, I'm going to go to Google Finance. I'm going to put in my symbol. Okay, so at the price, market must still be open. There's a little bit of movement in the price. So 93.17. And let's get our earnings. So let me go click on financials. Here's going to give our income statements. This is currently quarterly data. 3 months, 3 months, 3 months. I want annual data because I want the last 3 years earnings, not the last 3 quarters. If I scroll all the way to the bottom, it's going to give my earnings per share. 632, 622, and 474. Okay, so that gives our 3-year average. So our trailing 12 months, let's go to Yahoo, Johnson & Johnson. This is basically a year ago earnings per share was 639. Okay, so let's plug that in, 639. And the analyst estimate, again, Yahoo Finance, average estimate 617. $6.17. Okay, so this tells a little bit different story than this. Do you notice that? Same company, same time frame. I think these were normalized earnings, if I recall. They called this basic normalized earnings per share. So they're playing with the numbers a little bit. That's probably why Graham says just take the average. And if I look at that 576, the earnings estimate, I'm probably going to want to stick with Graham's number in this case. That's all I could see. Okay, so let's look at the dividend yield. I know where it is in Yahoo, so if I go to summary, dividend yield is the one in parentheses, 328. Dividend yield is 328. Okay, so what should I use for the multiple? Well, interest rates are low, so I'd probably go for about 17 or 18. And again, I'm seeing that the value is better than the price, so that would be a buy. Even if I was a little conservative and went 18, right, it still looks like the value is better than the price. So I'm going to go ahead and say that would be a good buy. So I could figure out my dividend, my discount, earnings growth. Since I can't come up with this number, I'm not going to be able to calculate earnings growth. So what do we do? So let's, in Yahoo, we go to analyst estimate, because we're trying to get the 10 years earnings growth. I guess the best we could do is look at the last 5. They actually give us an estimate of the next 5, which is actually quite valuable. It's saying what the analysts expect over the next 5 years is about 5% earnings growth. And if I look at here, Johnson & Johnson has a history of doing better than the analysts expect. So if I look at this, I'm probably going to say it's probably between 5 and 6% is what we're looking at, some kind of earnings growth. So let's call it 6. So instead of allowing the formula, because these numbers are not really valid, so I'm just going to plug in a straight 6% here. Okay, and we get roughly the same recommendation, which is buy it, because the value is more than the price. Our dividend, the only difference here is what we got for a discount. But as a long-term investor, we're really looking at our dividend and our earnings growth. So we're looking at about a 10-11 type of return. You don't get the exact same numbers, but you get the same conclusion. You could use gurufocus, you could use Yahoo and Google, and that will help you with their homework. So I hope this helps.